The sun dipped low over Sunset Beach, California, casting a golden glow across the sandy shore where waves lapped gently against the coastline. It was July 21st, and the air buzzed with the carefree energy that only a summer evening could bring. Seagulls wheeled overhead, their cries mingling with the laughter of a small crowd gathered near the water's edge. Sarah stood at the center of it, her blonde hair catching the fading light and her sundress fluttering in the salty breeze. She clapped her hands, her voice bright with excitement. "My birthday wish is for us all to wade into the ocean and film a TikTok. It's gonna be epic." The group of friends, about a dozen in total, erupted in cheers. A lanky surfer with sun-bleached hair, Jake grinned and pumped his fist. Mia, an artist with a penchant for bold eyeliner and bolder ideas, whooped loudly, already pulling out her phone to check the lighting. I stood slightly apart, my sandals sinking into the cool sand, watching as Sarah's enthusiasm infected everyone that is except me. My boyfriend Nathan stood close to Sarah, his dark eyes fixed on her with a soft, indulgent smile that made my stomach twist. It wasn't the first time I'd noticed that look, but it felt sharper, like a splinter under my skin tonight. Someone in the group hesitated, their voice cutting through the excitement. "It's getting dark, guys. Isn't the ocean risky right now?" It was Jake, his usual laid-back vibe replaced with a flicker of caution. He gestured toward the water where the waves started churning under a sky streaked with ominous clouds. A few others murmured agreement, glancing at the no swimming sign staked into the sand nearby, its faded letters barely visible in the twilight. Nathan laughed, a deep dismissive sound that carried over the group. "Come on, Jake, don't be a buzzkill. Plenty of influencers film at night, look at all those viral beach videos. It's Sarah's birthday, man. Let's make it memorable for the birthday girl." His words were smooth, confident, and the group nodded, swept up in his charm. Sarah beamed, her cheeks flushing pink as she threw her arms around Nathan in a quick, exuberant hug. "Nathan, you're the best," she squealed, her voice dripping with delight. Then, as if suddenly remembering my presence, she pulled back, her eyes darting to me. She stuck out her tongue playfully, her tone turning coy. "Oops, sorry, Emily. I got a bit carried away there. Nathan and I go way back, like brother and sister. You don't mind, do you?" I opened my mouth to respond, but Nathan cut in before I could speak. He said, "Emily's not petty like that," his hand brushing my arm as he flashed me a reassuring smile. "She gets it right, babe. It's all good. It's just childhood friend stuff." His words were light, but an edge, a subtle challenge made my chest tighten. The group turned to me, their faces a mix of curiosity and expectation, waiting for my reaction. I forced a smile, my lips curving, despite the unease in my gut. "Of course," I said, my voice steady, but softer than intended. "It's Sarah's day. Let's make it fun." The words felt heavy, like I was swallowing something bitter. Sarah's smile widened, triumphant, as she linked arms with Nathan again, pulling him toward the water to plan the video. The others followed their chatter, filling the air, but I stayed rooted momentarily, my eyes lingering on Nathan's hand resting on Sarah's shoulder. The gesture was casual, familiar, too familiar. The wind picked up as the group moved closer to the ocean, carrying a chill that prickled my skin. The sky was darkening faster now, the clouds thicker, the waves louder. I glanced at the warning sign again, its message stark against the festive mood. Sunset Beach was notorious for its riptides, especially at night, and the locals knew to steer clear after dusk. But Sarah's laughter rang out, and Nathan's voice echoed, urging everyone to get ready. I clutched my phone, my fingers brushing the camera app, and felt a strange weight settle over me, a premonition, or maybe something deeper, something from a life I couldn't yet name. The cheers of Sarah's birthday crowd faded into a distant hum as I stood on the edge of Sunset Beach, the Pacific's restless waves crashing against the shore. The California twilight painted the sky in bruised purples, and the air carried a chill that seeped into my bones. Nathan's voice, warm and coaxing as he rallied the group to follow Sarah's TikTok plan, should have grounded me. Instead, it triggered something, a sharp and electric jolt that pulled me out of the present. My vision blurred, and suddenly I wasn't on the beach anymore. I was underwater, the icy Pacific closing over me, my lungs burning as Nathan's hands tightened around my throat. His eyes, wild with rage, glared down at me, his voice a distorted snarl through the water. "You stopped me from saving her." The memory hit like a riptide, dragging me back to my previous life. In that life, I'd died here on this very beach, betrayed by the man I loved. As my body thrashed in the water, my nails clawing at his wrists, I'd prayed not to God, but to some unseen force beyond the stars. "Give me another chance," I'd begged silently, my heart pounding with a vow. Let me make them pay for what they've done. A warmth had enveloped me then, cosmic and boundless, like the universe had heard my plea. It wasn't just a second chance, but a rebirth, a gift to rewrite my fate and deliver justice. The memory snapped shut and I gasped, my knees buckling on the sand. My hands trembled, clutching the phone I'd meant to use for filming. The mark on my neck faint but still there from Nathan's grip in that other life seemed to pulse. Sarah's laughter cut through my haze, her voice calling to Nathan as they planned their video by the water's edge. Jake hesitated nearby, his surfer's instincts wary of the darkening waves, while Mia adjusted her phone's camera, oblivious to the danger. The group's excitement felt alien, starkly contrasting with the cold dread pooling in my chest. I glanced at Nathan, his arm slung casually around Sarah's shoulders, his smile too soft, too intimate. In my past life, I'd ignored those signs, chalking them up to childhood friendship. Now I saw them for what they were, betrayal woven into every glance, every touch. My fingers tightened around my phone, the weight of my vow anchoring me. This time I wouldn't be the victim. Nathan noticed my shiver, his brow furrowing as he broke away from Sarah and jogged over. "Am you okay? You look pale." He shrugged off his denim jacket, draping it over my shoulders with a concerned frown. "Maybe you're catching a cold. Why don't you head back to the hotel and rest? You don't have to join the filming." His voice was gentle, but his eyes flicked back to Sarah, betraying his proper focus. The gesture, meant to seem caring, felt like a performance, a mask I now saw through. I'd melted under that concern, in my past life blind to his lies. Now it sparked only disgust, a bitter taste on my tongue. I forced my lips into a smile, tucking my trembling hands into the jacket's pockets. "I'm fine, Nathan," I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "It's Sarah's birthday. I wouldn't miss it." The words were a lie, but they came easily. I couldn't let him see the hatred burning in my chest, the resolve hardening with every beat of my heart. Sarah glanced over, her smile faltering for a split second, as if sensing my shift. "Come on, Emily, don't be a spoilsport." She called, her tone playful but edged with something sharper. The group laughed, but Jake's eyes lingered on the no swimming sign, his unease mirroring my own. As Nathan rejoined Sarah, their heads bent close over her phone, I took a step back, my gaze fixed on the ocean. The waves churned harder now, the horizon swallowed by clouds that promised a storm. In my past life, I'd walked away from this moment, pulling Nathan to safety while Sarah led the others to their deaths. This time I'd stay. I'd play their game, but on my terms. The cosmic warmth of my rebirth pulsed within me, a reminder of the power I now held. They'd betrayed me once, but I was no longer that naive girl. I was reborn, and tonight I'd take the first step toward making Nathan and Sarah pay. The crashing waves of Sunset Beach faded as my mind slipped back, the salty air replaced by the suffocating weight of memory. I was no longer standing on the cooling sand, my phone clutched tightly in my hand. Instead, I was in my past life a year earlier on this same stretch of California coastline, where the Pacific's beauty hid a deadly secret. The sky then had been just as ominous, heavy with storm clouds that churned like my growing unease. It was Sarah's birthday that night, too, and she'd been insistent, her voice sharp with excitement as she rallied Nathan's friends for a reckless ocean photo shoot. "Come on, let's make it unforgettable," she'd urged, her blonde hair whipping in the wind. Among the group were Jake, a shy surfer who'd grown up riding these waves, and Mia, an artist with a fiery streak who loved chasing thrills. Jake had hesitated, his eyes flicking to the no-swimming sign staked near the dunes, its red letters stark against the fading light. "Sarah, this part of the beach is bad news," he'd said, his voice low. "The riptides here are brutal, especially at night." Sunset Beach was infamous among locals for its unpredictable currents, a fact I'd learned from years of living nearby. I'd backed Jake up, stepping forward. "He's right. The Coast Guard's been warning about this spot for years. Let's stay on the shore." Sarah had laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound that cut through the group's chatter. "Don't be such a buzzkill, Emily. Where's your sense of adventure?" Her eyes glinted with mockery as she turned to Nathan, who stood beside her, his arm brushing hers. "Nathan, tell them it's fine. We're just taking some pictures, not diving in." Nathan had grinned, his confidence infectious. "Exactly. It's just a bit of fun for Sarah's birthday." "Relax, Em." His words stung, but I'd bitten my tongue, not wanting to seem like the outsider among his tight-knit friends. Mia, caught up in the excitement, had shrugged off Jake's warning. "Come on, Jake, don't be a chicken. It's for the gram." The others, loosened by a few beers, had cheered, swept up in the moment. I hadn't been close to Jake, Mia, or any of Nathan's friends. They were his crew bonded by years of shared memories I'd never been part of. So when they ignored my warning, I felt no obligation to chase after them. Fine, I'd said, turning to Nathan. Let's go back to the hotel. I'm not risking it. He'd hesitated, glancing at Sarah, but followed me, his hand in mine. We'd walked away, Sarah's laughter fading behind us. I thought I'd done the right thing, saving us from danger. I never imagined that choice would unravel my entire life. That night, a storm rolled in, sudden and ferocious, just like the one brewing now in the present. The Pacific turned wild waves, swallowing the shore with a roar. Jake, Mia, and the others who'd followed Sarah into the water never returned. The Coast Guard found debris, phones, shoes, a shredded backpack, but no survivors. The news called it the July 21st coastal tragedy, a grim reminder of Sunset Beach's deadly riptides. Safe in our hotel, Nathan and I heard the reports the next morning. His face crumpled, his hands shaking as he whispered their names, Jake, Mia, the others. I held him as he sobbed his grief, a raw, jagged thing. I didn't blame him or say a word about Sarah's recklessness. Instead, I stayed by his side, offering quiet comfort, believing we'd heal together. But Nathan's grief didn't fade. It festered, turning him distant, his eyes haunted whenever he looked at the ocean. To soothe his pain, we married quickly, a small ceremony in a Santa Barbara chapel. I thought it would anchor him, give him hope. Soon after I became pregnant, a flicker of joy in our shared darkness. Nathan seemed to stabilize for a while, his smiles returning as he talked about our future. But I was wrong to think he'd let go of the past, that beach, those deaths, and Sarah's memory. The wind whipped across Sunset Beach, California, carrying the sharp tang of salt and the low growl of an approaching storm. The sky had darkened to a bruised purple, the Pacific's waves churning with a restless energy that mirrored the storm brewing inside me. Sarah's laughter rang out sharp and carefree as she tugged Nathan toward the water, her blonde hair glowing faintly in the twilight. "Come on, everyone, let's make this TikTok legendary," she called, her voice cutting through the group's excited chatter. Jake, the shy surfer, lingered near the no swimming sign, his brow furrowed, while Mia, ever the thrill-seeker, adjusted her phone's camera, eager to capture the moment. The other friends, Nathan's old high school crew, followed Sarah's lead, their voices buoyed by beer and birthday cheer. I stood apart, my sandals sinking into the cool sand, my phone heavy. The memories of my past life still pulsed in my mind, Nathan's hands around my throat, the icy water flooding my lungs. Sarah's reckless plan that had led to death. This time I wouldn't let history repeat itself unchecked. I swallowed the hatred burning in my chest, forcing my lips into a smile that felt like a mask. I said, "Let's make Sarah's birthday perfect," my voice steady despite the tremor in my heart. "Nathan, you and Sarah lead the way. I'll film the video." Sarah's eyes flicked to me, a triumphant smirk curling her lips as she linked arms with Nathan. "You're the best, Emily," she chirped, but the glint in her gaze told me she relished stealing the spotlight. Nathan nodded, his smile easy, but his eyes darting to me with a flicker of concern. "You sure you're okay, Em? You don't have to do this." His words were soft, but carried the same hollow care I'd learned to distrust. I waved him off, my smile tightening. "It's fine. It's Sarah's day." He hesitated, then turned back to Sarah, their heads bending close as they planned the shoot. The group gathered behind them, phones out, ready to follow their lead into the waves. I glanced at the ocean, its surface now rippling with the first signs of the storm I knew was coming, just as it had in my past life. I lifted my phone, opening the camera app to check the settings. The video titled Sarah's Birthday Bash had been recording since Sarah's announcement, capturing every moment, her insistence on the ocean shoot. Nathan's eager support, even Jake's quiet warning about the riptides. The footage was my insurance, a silent weapon I'd wield when right. My fingers moved quickly, almost instinctively, as I set a timer on my phone to send an automated alert to the Sunset Beach lifeguard station in 10 minutes. I'd walked away in my past life, leaving Sarah to lead the others to their doom. This time I'd stay, but I'd be prepared. The lifeguards would be ready when the storm hit, a precaution born from the blood and loss of that other life. As the group moved closer to the water, Sarah turned, her smile radiant for the camera. "Emily, make sure you get my good side," she called, posing with Nathan at her side. He laughed, his arms slung around her shoulders, their closeness a knife in my chest. "Yeah, Em, make us look good," he added, his voice teasing, but his eyes lingering on Sarah. I raised the phone, framing them against the darkening horizon. Sarah turned back and smiled. "While you walk," I shouted, my tone light but my heart cold. They looked perfect in the camera's viewfinder, Sarah's grin wide, Nathan's gaze adoring the group trailing behind like eager shadows. But beyond them, the ocean churned waves rising higher, their foam catching the last glimmers of light. Clouds thickened, swallowing the stars as they had in my memory of that fatal night. I adjusted the camera, zooming in on Sarah and Nathan, their laughter a cruel echo of the past. Jake hesitated at the water's edge, his voice barely audible over the wind. Guys, we should wait. The waves look rough. Sarah rolled her eyes, tossing her hair. Don't be such a downer, Jake. It's my birthday. Nathan clapped him on the back, his tone dismissive. Relax, man, we're just waiting in a bit. Nothing's gonna happen. Mia, already knee-deep in the water, waved her phone. Come on, it's for the vibes. The others followed their hesitation, melting under peer pressure just as before. My thumb hovered over the phone's screen, the lifeguard alert ticking down. I knew what was coming, the storm, the waves, the chaos. In my past life, I'd been powerless, a bystander to Sarah's recklessness and Nathan's betrayal. I was in control, my vow of justice guiding every move. As Sarah and Nathan entered the surf, their laughter ringing out, I felt a cold resolve settle over me. This was the beginning, the first step in unraveling their lies. The ocean roared, and I tightened my grip on the phone, ready to capture their downfall. The Pacific roared to life as a gale tore across Sunset Beach, California, transforming the twilight into a chaotic swirl of wind and spray. The festive mood of Sarah's birthday celebration was shattered as dark clouds unleashed a torrent of rain and waves surged with a ferocity that drowned out the group's laughter. Sarah and Nathan, arm in arm at the forefront, waded deeper into the surf, oblivious to the danger. Their phones glowed, capturing their TikTok video, while Jake and Mia trailed behind, their voices tinged with unease. This doesn't feel right, Jake shouted over the wind, his surfer's instincts flaring as the water reached his thighs. Mia, clutching her phone, hesitated, her thrill-seeking bravado faltering. Maybe we should head back, she called, but Sarah's giddy laughter dismissed them. Don't be babies, it's just a little rough. I stood on the shore, my phone steady in my hands, the camera still recording. The video, Sarah's birthday bash, captured every reckless step, every wave that grew hungrier under the storm's wrath. My heart pounded not from fear, but from the weight of my plan unfolding. The automated alert I'd set to the Sunset Beach lifeguard station was seconds from triggering a safeguard born from my past life's tragedy. I'd walked away from that life, and the ocean had claimed Jake, Mia, and the others. This time, I'd ensure some survived, but not without exposing Nathan and Sarah's betrayal. A massive wave rose, and a wall of frothing water crashed over the group with a deafening roar. Sarah screamed, her phone slipping as the current yanked her under. Nathan flailed his arms, reaching for her, but the riptide was merciless, dragging them both into the depths. Jake and Mia thrashed against the waves, their cries swallowed by the storm's howl. The other friends, caught off guard, shouted in panic, some trying to swim back to shore, others pulled further out by the relentless tide. I gripped my phone. The lifeguard alert was active, and its timer was ticking to 0. Within minutes, the wail of sirens cut through the rain, and lifeguard boats sliced through the waves, their searchlights piercing the darkness. The rescue was swift but brutal. Lifeguards hauled a few survivors from the churning water, their faces pale with shock. Jake and Mia were among the missing, their fates sealed by the same reckless choice I'd witnessed in my past life. But Sarah and Nathan were pulled to safety, soaked and shivering, their bodies slumped on the shore as paramedics rushed in. I followed them to the hospital, my camera tucked away its footage, a silent weapon. In the sterile white of the emergency room, Sarah lay on a gurney, her face ashen blood seeping through her gown. A doctor approached, her expression grim. She's stable, but she lost the baby. The trauma was too much. I'm sorry, but she'll never conceive again. Nathan, barely scratched, stood nearby, his clothes still damp. His eyes widened at the doctor's words, a raw panic flickering across his face. I stepped closer, my voice low and laced with feigned sorrow. Nathan, Sarah's fine, but the baby's gone. His head snapped toward me, his breath hitching. The baby. What? His shock was too visceral and personal for someone claiming a sibling-like bond. I tilted my head, my gaze steady. How did you know she was pregnant, Nathan? The doctor just told me. His face froze, a deer caught in headlights, and I knew I'd struck a nerve. Sarah's child was his, a secret in that sterile room. He stammered, his voice cracking. She mentioned it earlier, that's all. But his eyes betrayed him, darting to Sarah's still form, his hands trembling. The hospital's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on his face, now a mask of guilt and fear. Sarah stirred, her eyes fluttering open, but she was too weak to speak, her hand clutching the sheet as if anchoring herself to life. I turned away, my heart cold but resolute. The storm had done its work just as it had in my past life, but this time I'd turned its chaos to my advantage. The video on my phone, the lifeguard call, and Nathan's slip were pieces of a puzzle I was assembling, each a step toward justice. The hospital room at Sunset Beach Medical Center buzzed with the hum of fluorescent lights, the sterile air heavy with tension. Sarah lay pale on the gurney, her eyes half closed, still reeling from the doctor's news of her lost child and shattered fertility. Nathan stood by her side, his damp clothes clinging to him, his face a mask of barely concealed panic. I stood in the doorway, my phone tucked in my pocket, its recorded footage a ticking bomb. The storm outside had calmed, but the one I was about to unleash was beginning. Nathan's slip about Sarah's pregnancy had confirmed their betrayal, and now I'd use it to unravel their lies. I stepped closer, my voice soft but pointed. Nathan, how did you know Sarah was pregnant? I only found out from the doctor. His eyes widened, a flicker of fear crossing his face before he stammered, She told me earlier, that's all. His lie was flimsy, his hands trembling as he glanced at Sarah, who stirred weakly but didn't speak. I pressed further, my tone laced with mock concern. It's so sad, Nathan. She lost the baby and the doctor said her uterus is too damaged ever to conceive again. His breath hitched, his face crumpling as if the loss were his own. The truth was clear, Sarah's child was his, a secret they'd hidden behind their sibling facade. I turned away, hiding the cold satisfaction curling in my chest. Weeks ago, I'd hired a private investigator, a discreet professional from Santa Barbara, to dig into Nathan and Sarah's relationship. The evidence, hotel receipts from a weekend they claimed were a group trip, flirty texts, even a grainy photo of them kissing at a beachfront bar, sat safely in my cloud storage, ready to be deployed. My past life had taught me their betrayal ran deep, and I'd come prepared this time. As Nathan whispered to Sarah, their heads bent close, I slipped into the hospital hallway, pulling up Instagram on my phone. Sarah had just gone live, her pale face and teary eyes broadcasting to thousands, playing the victim of the July 21st coastal tragedy. Her voice trembled as she spoke to the camera propped up on her hospital bed. I'm so grateful to be alive, but I lost my baby 3 months along. Nathan sat beside her, his hand patting her shoulder, his expression a perfect blend of sorrow and support. Comments flooded in offering sympathy, but I saw my opening. Using an anonymous account, I typed, Sarah, who's the father? Why isn't he here with you? The comment pinned itself high in the chat and the tone shifted. Wait, yeah, where's her boyfriend? One user wrote. Isn't that guy next to her engaged to someone else? Another added, referencing Nathan's public relationship with me. The internet buzzed, suspicion spreading like wildfire. Sarah's eyes flicked to the screen, her composure faltering. Nathan leaned in, whispering something, but the damage was done. Another user commented, That's Nathan, right? He's with Emily Lynn. What's he doing with Sarah? I added. Fuel posting. Sarah, you said Nathan's like a brother, but he knew about your pregnancy. Who's the dad? The chat erupted, viewers piecing together the clues. No way is Nathan the father. Emily deserves better. The accusations piled up, each one a crack in their carefully crafted lie. Sarah's voice wavered as she tried to deflect. My boyfriend's overseas. Okay, Nathan's just helping me through this. But her words sounded hollow, and Nathan's forced nod did little to convince the growing audience. I leaned against the hospital wall, the cold tile grounding me as I watched the live stream on my phone. The investigators' evidence had given me the confidence to strike, but this moment was mine to orchestrate. The video from my camera, still unshared, showed Nathan and Sarah ignoring the no swimming sign, their reckless encouragement leading Jake and Mia to their deaths. That would come later. I'd let the internet work, turning their sympathy into scrutiny. Nathan's phone buzzed with notifications, his face paling as he scrolled through the comments. Sarah's tears, once her weapon, now looked staged, her fragility no match for the public's growing doubt. A nurse passed by, glancing at me with a curious frown, but I kept my expression neutral, my heart racing with purpose. In my past life, I'd been blind to their affair, comforting Nathan through his grief while he mourned Sarah's loss. I pulled the strings this time, and the hospital's sterile walls felt like the perfect stage for their unraveling. As Sarah's live stream faltered, the comments turning vicious, I knew this was only the beginning. The storm had taken lives, but my plan would take their lies, exposing them piece by piece until their world collapsed. The sterile glow of Sunset Beach Medical Center's hallway cast harsh shadows as I leaned against the wall, my phone buzzing with notifications from Sarah's Instagram Live. She and Nathan huddled inside her room, their voices low but frantic, plotting to salvage their crumbling facade. My anonymous comment, Sarah, who's the father, "Why isn't he here?" had ignited a firestorm in the chat, with viewers questioning Nathan's role and their supposed sibling bond. The evidence from my private investigator hotel receipts, texts, a photo of their beachfront kiss, sat ready in my cloud storage, but I held back. The internet was doing my work for now, and I wanted them to dig their grave. Sarah's live stream resumed, her pale face filling the screen, tears streaking her cheeks as she leaned into her role as the tragic victim. The July 21st coastal tragedy took so much from me, she sobbed, her voice trembling for effect. "I lost my baby and I almost died. And yet some people, they're trying to twist this into something it's not." Sitting beside her, Nathan nodded solemnly, his hand resting on her arm. "It's not fair," he said, his voice heavy with false remorse. "Emily wanted a beach proposal that night. That's why we were in the water. She pushed for it, and now Sarah's paying the price." The lie was bold, a desperate attempt to shift blame. Comments exploded across the screen, some buying their story, others skeptical. "Wait, a proposal? But wasn't it Sarah's birthday?" one user wrote. "Nathan's engaged to Emily, so why's he so cozy with Sarah?" another demanded. I seized the moment, typing from my anonymous account. "It was Sarah's birthday party, not a proposal. Why lie? Nathan. And Sarah, whose baby was it? Where's your boyfriend?" The chat erupted, viewers piling on. "Yeah, where's this overseas boyfriend? Nathan knew about the pregnancy, says Emily deserves answers." The tide was turning, their narrative cracking under public scrutiny. Sarah's eyes widened as she read the comments, her composure slipping. "My boyfriend's abroad, okay," she snapped, her voice sharp. "Nathan's just a friend helping me through this. Stop making things up." But her defensiveness only fueled the fire. "They're way too close for friends," a viewer posted. "Is Nathan the dad? Spill the tea." Nathan's face tightened, his jaw clenching as he leaned toward the camera. "You guys are twisting everything he said," his tone strained. "Emily's the one who wanted the beach shoot. She even called the lifeguards late. People died because of her." The accusation was a desperate swing, but it landed hollow. I typed again, my fingers steady despite the rage in my chest. If it was my idea, why does the video show Sarah begging everyone to enter the water? And Nathan, you backed her up. Explain that. I haven't posted the footage yet. It's time to come, but the comment hit like a dart. Viewers latched on, demanding to see the video. What video? If Emily had called the lifeguards, she would have saved lives, not taken them. Nathan and Sarah are lying. The chat became a battlefield, with half the audience slamming their mysterious boyfriend story, and the other half calling Nathan a cheater. Sarah's tears, once sympathetic, now looked staged, her fragile act crumbling. Nathan's phone buzzed incessantly, notifications piling up as he scrolled through the comments, his face paling. "This is getting out of hand," he muttered, glancing at Sarah. She gripped his arm, her voice a hiss. "They're buying her lies, Nathan. We need to double down." But the more they spoke, the deeper they sank. A user posted that I found Emily's profile. She's got a ring, Nathan's fiancé, not Sarah. Another linked a local news clip praising Emily Lynn for alerting lifeguards and saving lives. The truth was creeping out, and I hadn't even played my trump card yet. I stepped back into the hospital room, my expression calm, but my eyes locked on Nathan. "You're blaming me for the tragedy?" I asked, my voice low and cutting. "We wouldn't have been near the water if it weren't for Sarah's birthday stunt. And you, Nathan, you pushed everyone to follow her." His mouth opened, but no words came. Sarah propped up on her pillows and glared at me, her voice weak but venomous. "You called the lifeguards Emily. If you knew it was dangerous, why didn't you stop us?" I smiled coldly. I tried Sarah. "You called me a buzzkill, remember?" The room fell silent, their lies exposed in the harsh light of truth. As I walked out, the live stream's comments continued to pour in the internet, turning on Nathan and Sarah. My investigators' evidence waited, but for now I let the public's outrage grow. In my past life, I'd been their pawn, comforting Nathan while he mourned Sarah. I was rewriting the story this time, and their desperation was my victory. The hospital hallway at Sunset Beach Medical Center buzzed with the hum of nurses and the distant wail of an ambulance, but inside Sarah's room the air was thick with tension. My phone, still warm from scrolling through Sarah's faltering Instagram live, held the damning footage of her and Nathan's recklessness. Their smear campaign blaming me for the July 21st coastal tragedy had backfired, with viewers now questioning Nathan's fidelity and Sarah's mysterious boyfriend. I'd planted the seeds of doubt, and the internet was tearing their lies apart. But I wasn't done. The evidence from my private investigator texts, receipts, a photo of their kiss, waited in reserve. For now, I'd face them head on. I pushed open the door to Sarah's room, my eyes locking on Nathan, who stood by her bed, his face pale from the live stream's backlash. Sarah, propped up on pillows, looked frail but venomous, her gaze sharpening as I entered. "You're loving this, aren't you, Emily?" she hissed, her voice weak but laced with spite. "Turning everyone against me." Nathan's head snapped up, his expression mixed with guilt and defiance. "Because of you, Sarah can't have kids anymore," he said, his voice low but accusing. "You pushed for the beach shoot and are now playing the hero." I crossed my arms, a sarcastic laugh escaping my lips. "Nathan, we wouldn't have been near the water if it weren't for Sarah's birthday stunt. You backed her up, egging everyone on Jake, Mia, the others, into those waves. Don't pin this on me." My words cut through the room, sharp and unyielding. Sarah's eyes flashed, but she stayed silent, her fingers clutching the hospital sheet. Nathan faltered, his jaw tightening. "You called the lifeguards, Emily," he said, grasping at straws. "If you knew it was dangerous, why didn't you stop us? I tried." I shot back, my voice cold. "Sarah called me a buzzkill, and you laughed it off. You wanted to play the big man for her." I stepped closer, my gaze flicking to the ring glinting on my finger. A diamond band I'd found in Nathan's jacket weeks ago, hidden in a velvet box meant for Sarah. In my past life, he'd given it to her as a birthday gift, only to rip it from my hand before drowning me, screaming it was hers. This time I'd claimed it first, a silent taunt. "And this," I said, raising my hand so the ring caught the light, "was never meant for me." Nathan's face drained of color, his eyes fixed on the ring. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Where did you get that?" she whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of shock and rage. Nathan stammered. I was planning to propose to you. That's why we went to the beach." The lie was pathetic, and I laughed again, colder this time. "Please don't insult me, Nathan. This was for Sarah, bought with my money, no less. Do you think I didn't notice the charges on my account?" The room fell silent, the weight of my words crushing their defenses. Sarah's eyes brimmed with tears, but she was angry, not sad. "You're twisting everything," she spat, but her voice lacked conviction. Nathan reached for my arm, his tone pleading. Let's talk privately. I messed up. Okay, I promised to cover Sarah's medical bills. Jake's family, all of them. It was my mistake. Don't do this." His desperation was almost pitiful, but I shook him off, my voice like ice. "No, Nathan. You don't get to use my money to clean up your mess. My company, my money, not ours. We're done." His eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing his face. You don't mean that. We're good together." But I turned my gaze steady. "You chose Sarah over me even in my past life. I'm not that fool anymore." I walked out, leaving them in stunned silence. As I reached the hallway, my phone pinged with a notification from the hospital's security feed accessed through my investigator's hack. Sarah was screaming at Nathan, her voice shrill through the grainy footage. "That ring was mine, Nathan. You let her take it. She's ruining us." Nathan's face twisted, his voice low. "I didn't know she found it, Sarah. I swear I'll fix this." Their argument was a crack in their alliance, a bomb I'd planted with the ring's reveal. The internet still buzzed with comments tearing into their lies, fueled by my anonymous posts. In my past life, I'd been their pawn, funding Nathan's grief while he mourned Sarah. Now I was dismantling their world piece by piece. The hospital's sterile walls felt like a stage, and I was directing the fall of their act. The sterile halls of Sunset Beach Medical Center buzzed with the aftermath of my confrontation with Nathan and Sarah, their lies fraying under the weight of my words and the internet's growing suspicion. My phone, tucked in my pocket, held the key to their downfall. The video from Sarah's birthday, titled "Sarah's Birthday Bash," capturing their reckless push into the Pacific's deadly waves. Their latest Instagram live, streaming from Sarah's hospital room, doubled down on their smear campaign, painting me as the mastermind behind the July 21st coastal tragedy. Nathan's voice, heavy with false remorse, echoed through my phone's screen. "Emily insisted on the beach shoot," he said, his arm around Sarah. "She wanted something exciting, and now my friends are gone." Sarah nodded, tears glistening for the camera. I lost my baby because of her, she whispered, her voice breaking. Comments flooded in, some vilifying me, others skeptical. Wasn't it Sarah's birthday, one user wrote. Why is Nathan blaming Emily when she called the lifeguards? The tide was shifting, but not fast enough. I sat in a quiet hospital waiting room, my thumb hovering over my phone. The time had come. Using my real account, Emily Lynn, I uploaded the video to Instagram, its thumbnail showing Sarah and Nathan arm in arm, laughing by the ocean. The caption read, "The truth about July 21st. The video opened with Sarah's voice bright and commanding. "Let's make this TikTok legendary," she shouted, pulling Nathan toward the water. The no swimming sign loomed in the background, its red letters stark against the darkening sky. Jake, the shy surfer, hesitated, his voice clear. "Guys, the riptides here are bad." "We shouldn't." Nathan smirked, clapping him on the back. Scared Jake. "It's Sarah's birthday. Don't be a party pooper." Sarah chimed in, her tone mocking. "If you can't swim, stay out. We don't need cowards." Mia, her thrill-seeking spark dimmed, glanced at the sign but followed, pressured by their taunts. The footage ended as they waded into the surf waves, rising ominously. Within minutes, the video went viral, racking up thousands of views. Comments erupted. They ignored the warning sign Nathan and Sarah pushed them in. Emily saved lives by calling the lifeguards. The live stream's chat turned brutal, viewers slamming Nathan and Sarah. "You caused those deaths. Liars are trying to blame Emily." Local news outlets picked up the story, linking my video to reports praising Emily Lynn for her lifeguard alert. The narrative flipped. I was the hero, they, the villains. In the hospital, Nathan's phone buzzed relentlessly, his face ashen as he scrolled through the hate. Sarah, still weak, glared at the screen, her tears now futile. The fallout reached beyond the internet. Jake's mother, Linda, a weathered woman who ran a local surf shop, saw the video on a news broadcast. Her grief, raw since losing her son, turned to fury. She organized victims' families who stormed social media with their posts demanding accountability. California's coastal negligence laws, strict after years of deadly riptides, gave them ground to stand on. The state held organizers of unsanctioned beach activities liable for ignoring warnings, and the no swimming sign was evidence enough. Linda's voice, trembling but resolute, appeared in a viral clip. "My Jake trusted them, and they led him to his death. They need to pay." I watched the chaos unfold from my phone, a calm satisfaction settling in my chest. My private investigator's evidence texts proving Nathan and Sarah's affair remained my ace, but the video had done its job. Public outrage surged with hashtags like #JusticeForJake trending. Nathan and Sarah's livestream faltered, their comments disabled as viewers flooded their profiles with accusations. In my past life, I'd been their scapegoat, drowning in their betrayal. Now I'd turned their recklessness against them, the Pacific's wrath mirrored in the public's fury. The hospital's sterile walls seemed to pulse with the weight of their crumbling lies, and I knew the next act, legal and personal ruin, was coming. The sterile corridors of Sunset Beach Medical Center buzzed with chaos, the air thick with shouted accusations and the shuffle of angry footsteps. My viral video exposing Nathan and Sarah's recklessness on that fateful night at Sunset Beach had ignited a firestorm. The footage showing them mocking Jake's warnings and pressuring Mia and others into the deadly waves had spread across Instagram X, and local news shifting blame from me to them. Hashtags like #JusticeForJake trended, and the public's outrage boiled over. Jake's mother, Linda, fueled by grief, had rallied the victims' families, and now a crowd of locals and mourners stormed the hospital demanding answers. I stood in a quiet corner of the waiting area, my phone screen glowing with updates. Comments on social media were merciless. Nathan and Sarah led them to their deaths. They ignored the warning sign. Linda's tearful plea on a news clip calling for justice had galvanized the crowd. California's strict coastal negligence laws, which held organizers liable for ignoring safety warnings, loomed over Nathan and Sarah, their guilt now undeniable. My private investigator's evidence texts and receipts proving their affair remained my trump card, but the video had done its work, turning the tide against them. Inside Sarah's hospital room, the atmosphere was electric with fear. Nathan stood by her bed, his face pale as he scrolled through the hate flooding their phones. Sarah, still weak from her injuries and the loss of her unborn child, clutched the sheets, her eyes darting to the door. The crowd's shouts echoed down the hall, growing louder. "Where's Sarah? She killed our kids!" a voice bellowed. "Likely." Mia's father, his voice raw with pain. Linda's voice cut through sharp and resolute. They knew the beach was dangerous. My Jake trusted them. The hospital's security was overwhelmed, their calls for calm drowned out by the mob's fury. Sarah's voice trembled as she whispered to Nathan, "They're coming for us." But before he could respond, the door burst open. Linda led the charge, her weathered face twisted with grief and rage. "You?" she spat, pointing at Sarah. "You mocked my son's warning and led him to his death." Others surged forward, their voices a cacophony of accusations. Sarah shrank back, her eyes wide with panic. "I didn't mean to," she stammered, her voice breaking. "I lost my baby trying to save them. Their lives weren't worth mine." Her words, barely a whisper, landed like a match in gasoline. The crowd erupted, their fury igniting. A man Mia's uncle, I recognized from news clips, lunged forward, his fist grazing Sarah's shoulder as she screamed. Others grabbed at her, tearing at her hospital gown, until blood seeped through her bandages, her recent injuries reopening. Nathan froze, his eyes wide with fear, his hand hovering as if to help, but hesitating. The crowd's shouts drowned out Sarah's cries, and in that moment, Nathan's cowardice shone through. He backed away, his gaze darting to the door, and then he slipped out, disappearing into the chaotic hallway, leaving Sarah to face the mob alone. Security finally pushed through, their radios crackling as they pulled the crowd back. Sarah, barely conscious, was rushed to emergency surgery, blood pooling beneath her. The guards gave the mob stern looks, but took no aggressive action, their faces reflecting disgust at Sarah's callous words. I watched from my corner, my heart cold but steady. Nathan's betrayal of Sarah mirrored his betrayal of me in my past life, and it was almost poetic. My phone pinged with a security feed hacked by my investigator, showing Nathan cowering in a bathroom stall. His phone clutched tightly as he avoided the chaos he'd helped create. A doctor approached him later, emerging from the now quiet hallway with a stack of forms. "You're Miss Sarah's relative, right?" she asked, her tone brisk. "Her wounds reopened, and there's a risk of infection. She needs surgery now. The bill's $20,000 pay, immediately." Nathan's face crumpled, his hands shaking as he scanned the invoice. He'd always relied on my money, my company's success, and funding his lavish lifestyle as a big spender, but I'd frozen his access to my accounts after our breakup. He glanced at the doctor, his voice weak. Give me a moment, I'll figure it out." He stepped aside, dialing my number, his desperation palpable. I let the call ring twice before answering, my voice cool. "What, Nathan?" he stammered. Sarah's poorly hurt. The mob. She needs surgery. The card's frozen, please help us." I laughed softly, the sound sharp. "We're done, Nathan. You made your choice." I hung up my resolve unshaken. In my past life, I'd been his pawn, funding his grief. His cowardice and Sarah's pain were their punishment, and I was just getting started. The Santa Barbara County Courthouse stood stark against the California sky, its stone walls a fitting backdrop for the unraveling of Nathan and Sarah's lives. Months had passed since the chaos at Sunset Beach Medical Center, where my viral video had exposed their recklessness in the July 21st coastal tragedy. The public's outrage, fueled by hashtags like #JusticeForJake, had pushed the victims' families to act. Driven by grief, Jake's mother, Linda, and Mia's father filed lawsuits against Nathan and Sarah, citing California's strict coastal negligence laws, which held organizers liable for ignoring safety warnings like the no swimming sign. My role as the whistleblower who alerted lifeguards had cemented my innocence while their lies crumbled. Inside the courtroom, the air was thick with tension. Nathan sat at the defendant's table, his face haggard, his once confident charm replaced by a hollow stare. Sarah, weakened by her injuries, and a second surgery, sat beside him, her eyes darting with resentment. The family's lawyer presented my video, its footage replaying Nathan's sneer, "Scared Jake." "Don't be a party pooper," and Sarah's taunt, "If you can't swim, stay out." The judge's frown deepened, and whispers rippled through the gallery. I sat in the back, my private investigator's evidence, texts, receipts, and photos, proving their affair ready in a folder, but my lawsuit was the focus today. My lawyer, a sharp woman from Santa Barbara, stood and addressed the court. Nathan misused funds from Ms. Emily Lynn's company, Lynn Enterprises, to finance personal expenses, including gifts for Ms. Sarah Thompson. She presented bank records meticulously gathered by my investigator, showing thousands spent on Sarah's hotel stays and jewelry, including the ring I now wore. Nathan's face paled, his hands gripping the table. Sarah's gaze snapped to him, her voice a hiss. "You used her money for me and let her take my ring." Nathan's jaw clenched, his voice rising. You started this, Sarah. Your stupid birthday plan got us here. Their bickering erupted, echoing in the courtroom. Sarah jabbed a finger at him. You left me with that mob in the hospital. They nearly killed me and you hid like a coward. Nathan's temper flared, his voice booming. If you hadn't mouthed off about the baby, they wouldn't have attacked you. This is your fault. The judge banged her gavel, silencing them, but the damage was done. Their alliance, once unbreakable, had shattered under the weight of blame and desperation. The gallery buzzed with reporters scribbling notes for the following viral headline. Outside the courtroom, Nathan's financial ruin was complete. He'd sold his family's rundown cabin in the hills to cover Sarah's first surgery, but her ongoing medical bills, tens of thousands for infections and follow-ups, outstripped his means. He'd begged friends for loans, but his reputation as a liar and coward had spread, leaving him isolated. Desperate, he'd turned to loan sharks, their predatory rates drowning him further. The family's lawsuits demanded hefty compensation for Jake and Mia's deaths, and Nathan, as the instigator, faced the brunt. California law was unforgiving, and he had no defense. Sarah's fate was bleaker. Discharged from the hospital with no funds, her injuries left her frail and unable to work. She'd relied on Nathan, but his abandonment in the hospital had broken her trust. She tried contacting him post-trial, only to find he'd vanished, the cabin sold to strangers. Homeless, she drifted to Santa Barbara's streets, her health deteriorating. Within weeks, untreated infections claimed her life, her body found cold in an alley. Nathan's trail ended in rumors, whispers of loan sharks trafficking him overseas, a grim end I neither confirmed nor cared to pursue. I stood outside the courthouse, the ocean breeze carrying a faint echo of Sunset Beach. My lawyer's victory had recovered every cent Nathan took, but the true win was their destruction. In my past life, I'd been their victim, drowned by Nathan's hands. I'd orchestrated their fall, my evidence and resolve to turn their sins against them. The courtroom's weight lifted, replaced by a quiet triumph, but I wasn't done healing. A year had passed since the courtroom doors closed on Nathan and Sarah's ruin, and I stood once more on Sunset Beach, California, where the Pacific stretched endlessly and calmly under a golden afternoon sky. The waves lapped gently at the shore, starkly contrasting to the storm that had claimed Jake, Mia, and nearly Sarah in the July 21st coastal tragedy. The no swimming sign still stood, its red letters faded but resolute, a silent guardian against the beach's hidden dangers. I traced the faint scar on my neck, a remnant of Nathan's betrayal in my past life, and felt a quiet strength settle in my chest. The ocean no longer haunted me, it was a canvas for my renewal. In the months following the trial, I'd thrown myself into healing. Therapy sessions in a cozy Santa Barbara office had helped me unravel the trauma of Nathan's hands around my throat, the icy water of my past life's end. My therapist, a kind woman with a knack for asking hard questions, guided me through the anger and grief, helping me see that my rebirth, granted by that cosmic warmth I'd felt in my final moments, wasn't just for revenge. It was for reclaiming my life. I'd spent hours journaling, piecing together the woman I wanted to be, not the pawn I'd been. The ring, once Sarah's, now sat in a drawer, a reminder of my triumph, not her claim. My company, Lynn Enterprises, had thrived, its success no longer siphoned by Nathan's greed. The private investigator I'd hired, a sharp professional from Santa Barbara, had not only uncovered Nathan and Sarah's affair, but also ensured my financial recovery through meticulous bank records. Those records presented in court had forced Nathan to repay every cent he'd misused, leaving him broke and desperate. His fate was a shadow, rumors whispered of loan sharks trafficking him overseas, a grim end I neither sought nor mourned. Sarah's death alone and sick on the streets was a colder fate, her health broken by the mob's attack and her own choices. Their sins had caught up, as I'd vowed they would. But my path wasn't just about justice. I'd channeled my pain into purpose, founding the Coastal Safety Alliance in memory of Jake and Mia. The nonprofit launched with a community event on this beach, educated locals about riptides and safety warnings, its logo a wave circling a lighthouse emblazoned on signs across California's coast. Linda, Jake's mother, had spoken at the opening, her voice steady as she thanked me for honoring her son. Mia's father donated art for our campaigns, vibrant pieces that echoed her spirit. The work gave me meaning, a way to ensure no one else fell to Sunset Beach's hidden dangers. I walked along the shore, the sand cool beneath my feet, and felt the weight of my past life lift. In that life, I'd been naive, comforting Nathan through his grief, while he mourned Sarah, blind to their betrayal. My death had been a brutal awakening, but my rebirth was a gift. The cosmic force that answered my desperate vow had given me revenge and a chance to rebuild. Therapy taught me to forgive myself for trusting Nathan and see my strength in surviving. The nonprofit was my legacy, a light born from darkness, ensuring Jake and Mia's deaths weren't in vain. The sun dipped low, painting the waves with fire. I smiled, the warmth on my face, a mirror to the hope in my heart. Nathan and Sarah's lies had crumbled, their lives undone by their actions. I was free, reborn, not just to punish, but to live a life rich with purpose, unburdened by their shadows. The ocean stretched before me, no longer a grave, but a horizon wide and full of light.